Yeah, man. You mentioned a lot of times owners asking themselves, do they invest into the right technology? Is there technology that you felt that you've implemented that are really help scale, or is there anything on the horizon that you feel could definitely continue to help move the needle that you guys are under right now?
Yeah, I mean, in 2021 we were at our own inflection point around we had as I mentioned, we started with 300 clients. So we had technology that could, get us to the point of maybe 1,500 clients or so, and that's how we measure growth. How many people are we impacting and serving?
Yeah.
And for us, it was a decision, strategically, how far do we want to grow, and making sure that we have scalable systems that can get us there. And those are really significant investments. And we are still kind of growing into our shoes. For small businesses, they're not typically going to consider the kinds of systems we are, but they're also really significant investments. And it takes talent around those investments to ensure that you're optimally using the technology, because anybody can buy a system off the shelf. I think the last statistic I saw, most electronic health records are utilized 30% of what they're capable of doing.
Yeah.
And in 2021, 2022, we implemented every system we have in place now. We kind of slowed our growth to get our footing under us, and that's a human capital management system, financial system, electronic health record, recruiting system. All of that is pretty new to us.
I didn't hear you say anything about AI, Michael. We're in the space of AI. Are you guys seeing that that's worthy what you guys are doing? Do you feel like it's not needed? I mean, I think about the side, you talk about administration, really on the administration side, where we can do things, more of the things that we like, but we can automate and we can use AI to do the things that we don't like, the things that we didn't go to school for, that doesn't interest us as much.
Yeah.
Are you guys in that space?
We are starting to explore opportunities for AI, but honestly, we haven't implemented anything yet. There's a fair amount of application, I think, in the services we provide. A fair amount of what we do is very transactional in nature. Whether that's kind of the early stages of recruiting, filtering through 6,000 job applications, or we have different service authorization processes across the different markets that we're in. Some of those things definitely have application for AI. Where we've used it kind of immediately is just in the way we operate. We're a remote business. We have employees across 20 different states, and using very simple AI tools like Gemini note taking really goes a long way to help keep people on the same page. But I do think there's definitely opportunities for us in the future, but we're just at the infancy of how we can utilize it with our systems.
I know you mentioned Medicaid a little earlier, that you guys kind of work around this Medicaid model, but do you think that it's going to be impactful now with all the government cuts? Like, are you feeling it now? Is that something that you guys even worried about? I'm kind of imagine that you already looked ahead at those type of options.
Yeah, I mean, with the federal OBBBA bill, for the services we provide, there's not really any direct impacts of that bill on the services we provide. That being said, where the challenges that we expect we'll have to navigate in the future will come in is how it impacts state budgets, because ultimately our services are funded state by state. So we look to have a diversity of different markets, so we're not kind of overloaded in one particular state if something should go the way we don't want it to. So that's something I'm sure will have at least a near-term impact as states try to figure out their own impact on kind of federal matching for Medicaid. All that being said, I mean, the argument that we will continue to make, and I think what every state Medicaid office understands, and most legislators understand, we are still the lowest cost. We are cost savings, the services we provide, because we're still the lowest cost of care across the continuum from home all the way up to institutions. And it really enables us to continue the message around, hey, if anything, continue to invest in these services for the potential of long-term savings in some of those other settings. So it certainly creates some noise now. But to be perfectly honest, there's always some level of noise when it comes to the regulatory or reimbursement framework. And we try not to overreact to any one of those things. For this business, and this is one of the things I appreciate most about what we're doing, at the end of the day, if we take really good care of our clients, are responsive to the needs of the families, and take really good care of our employees, the rest of it, honestly takes care of itself. And that's where we try to keep our focus.
Just listening to you and the way that you navigate some of these questions, the way you respond to them, I could tell that you're just an amazing leader. Where does some of this leadership come from? Is it something that was poured into you? Was it just life experiences? Like, someone has to pour into Michael, right? Where are you learning all this?
Honestly, I just try to listen to every interaction I have. I try to watch, people in leadership roles. I've worked with some really good and some really bad, with and for some really good and really bad leaders, and I like to think along the way I've learned from each and every one of them. Certainly my parents in different ways have been leaders that's helped kind of form who I am. But as much as anything else, I just, try to be present and pay attention. And there's almost no conversation that I'm part of, or, if I'm watching somebody speak, then I'm not saying to myself, I would want to do that, or I wouldn't want to do that. And it's the biggest, I guess, factor in, my developmental leader has been failing. It's really important for any leader to fail, learn from it, and survive and come out the other side. And I always say this, and I've said this in every leadership role I've been in. I have 3 daughters. Any one of them could do my job in any situation where things are going well. Where you really find out kind of how folks respond is when times are tough. And and I learned kind of early on, and I think raising daughters is a great teacher to this. To try to maintain a certain level of not getting too high, not getting too low, because as a leader, everybody looks at how you respond, and they're going to take a position based on that. So I try to always remember that, and I will never feel like I'm who I want to be, but I try to take all those lessons, and some of it is formal kind of coaching and things like that.
Yeah.
But experience I think is by far the best teacher.